can we say that our calorie deficit program is successful? Well, to find out, we're now connected with a nutritionist, Mochammad Rizal. Good morning, Mas Rizal.
Hello, Mas Rizal.
Hi there.
Good morning, Mas Paul. Good morning, Bashanas.
So
Hi.
let's get right into it, Mas Rizal. Why is calorie deficit or calories in versus calories out still right now one of the main methods that people apply in losing weight?
Okay, thank you. That's the forward question. So, calorie deficit is a principle that should be achieved for any types of diet if the goal is losing weight. So, people can do low carbs diet and lose weight if they are in a calorie deficit condition. On the other hand, people also can do low carbs diet but not lose weight if they are not in a calorie deficit. So it's for high carbs, keto, vegan, intermittent fasting, and mention it.
Right.
So it's the principle of the diet itself.
It's the principle of diet to really lose our weight. But how exactly should we do it, Mas Rizal? Because I've had my days when I'm always looking at my calorie counter, and it's not easy for my mental health.
Yeah, it's very consuming. You can actually overdo it, right?
Yes.
Some people actually overdo, like they have to track every single thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually we don't necessarily need to count calories to achieve a caloric deficit. It's just one of many ways. So outside the caloric deficit counting calories, we can also use something like hand portion size, ukuran rumah tangga, or isi piringku that is campaigned by the Ministry of Health of Indonesia. So tracking calories is the same way with our financial situation in our daily life. We can choose whether to track or not our spending as long as our income is sufficient for our needs, right? So it's just an option to count calories, actually. There are so many ways.
Yeah, and I think that analogy that you made is very easy to understand and very relatable for Shanaz, because you've just talked about how, you want to keep your spending less than what you're earning. There you go. Simple now, right?
Spending less than earning. Okay.
So, Mas Rizal, I've also heard that a lot of people say that a calorie isn't a calorie. For example, if you need to consume, let's say, 1,500 calories per day in order to be in a calorie deficit, not all 1,500 calories are comparable. For example, if I have 1,500 calories in a salad and perhaps some grilled chicken breast, as opposed to me having 1,500 calories of Cheetos.
Okay, yeah. It's kind of that, but not really like that. So, food quantity just tell us the half story. Right. So we also need to consider food quality to achieve optimal weight loss as well as health condition as a whole. Why? Because first, as you mentioned, Mas Paul, vegetables and fruits and lean proteins are high in micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, which are good for our health. And if we don't eat enough of these, we will obviously get in trouble, right? And then secondly, vegetables and fruits and lean proteins are high volumes but very low in calorie.
Right.
That means that it will fill up our stomach more quickly without the need to worry too much about calories, right?
Yeah.
And on the other hand, by eating too much foods that really high in calories, or any food that we want, especially foods that are low in volume but very high in calories, it will not fill up our stomach, which is bad for our satiety and can potentially exceed our calorie needs in a day.
Very good. And I think this is what people need to focus on. So you can eat a bag of Cheetos, but then you hit that 1,500 mark, and then you're still hungry 2 hours later, and then what do you do, right?
That's true.
And it got zero nutrients, right?
Yeah, zero nutrients, and you just kind of hit that target too soon. There's a lot of lighter calorie food out there that you can eat all day long.
That's right. And Mas Rizal, if we do this calorie deficit diet, does it mean that we need to starve ourselves?
No, it doesn't necessarily to do that, because as we discussed before, that we need to choose the food that high in volume and low in calories, something like salad and proteins. And with doing this, we will not feel starving or hungry all days because our stomach is full. And if we eat something like high calories food, like maybe brownies and then also donuts, and you mentioned it, we will feel hungry all day. But I don't mean that we should avoid totally these foods.
Yeah,
Okay.
you mentioned donuts, and I think Shanaz is already getting hungry. So how do we know our ideal calorie count? Because everyone's ideal calorie count
different,
and
right?
target may be different. So how do we know what's best for us? How do we figure that out?
Okay, so to figuring out how many calories we need, we should consider sex, age, weight, height, and physical activity.
Okay.
So for sex, basically male needs a slightly higher calories compared to female. And then for age, there is a big range of age that needs higher calories compared to other, which is around 20 to 30. And then for weight, height, and physical activity, means that the more height, the more weight, the more physical activity we do, the more calorie we need. And to figure it out, or to track our calorie intake now is much easier than ever before, because there are so many apps that help us to do this.
Right.
So to do this, first we have to input our profile, like I mentioned before, sex, age, etc., etc. And then after that, the apps will show our calorie needs in a day, and also carbohydrates, protein, and fats, and so on and so forth. And then after that, we only need to write every single food that we eat in the apps, and the apps will do the rest.
What is a safe calorie deficit, Mas Rizal? Like, let's say the ideal calorie count for me for maintenance is 2,000.
2,000.
How safely can I go below that?
Okay, so basically, 10% until 30% of our calorie needs in a day.
Okay.
So the more restrictive the calorie deficit we do, the more hungry we feel. I mean that if we want to lose weight quickly or faster, we need to reduce a high amount of calories. But the trade-off is that we will feel hungry or starving all day.
Okay, so for you it's around 1,800.
Yeah, I'm usually at around 1,700 per
1,700.
day, and if I exceed that, it's not a big deal. That's another misconception as well. People track from day to day. You know, you don't really have to do that. You just kind of have to go on average for a whole week. You can actually have like 2,200 calories, and then as long as the next few days I'm kind of in a deficit, it'll all even out.
How about for women? For women? How many calories?
Same thing. It's still the same, but then you're probably likely would be lower, just slightly lower.
I see. How many calories do average women need a day, Mas Rizal?
Okay, so basically 1,500 until 1,700. And for
500.
male and female, the thumbnail is that we don't need to hit lower than 1,200 calories a day.
Yeah,
so that's the very minimum requirement.
Okay. So, Mas Rizal, there have been plenty of methods out there. One popular one is intermittent fasting, because if you have to try to go through the whole day and keep track of everything, and then you're starting to get close to your target, and it's not even 4 p.m. yet, and you don't know what to do. But a lot of people try things like intermittent fasting, which helps you with restricted calorie eating. For example, if you cut out a few hours that you can eat, then within that short time span, you can actually hit your target, and then you won't have to worry about spending the rest of the day.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been fasting for almost 6 years now.
6 years.
But I don't do it on a regular basis. I do it like every couple of days. But regularly now, I don't have to think about calories anymore because I already have a rough idea. I can feel it in my body how much calories I'm putting in. But what other methods are there in order for people to try to maintain a calorie deficit in order for them to, especially for beginners, they're not used to doing this yet.
Okay, so actually there is no one-size-fits-all approach in terms of achieving calorie deficit, because some people enjoy doing a keto diet, for example, and it works for them. But for other people, it really sucks not to eat brownies or donuts, right?
True.
And some people like to do a high-carbs diet because maybe they have a lot of physical activity to do, but other people feel guilty after eating only one slice of pizza. And then also, some people can do a vegan diet without any problem, but there are other people that cannot get enough protein or calcium, for example, by only eating plant-based diet food. So I mean, there are so many ways to achieve calorie deficit, and it's personalized.
I see.
No one size fit all. And the key that I want to say is consistency and sustainability.
Ooh.
So the more sustained we stick to a diet, the more successful the weight loss that we always wanted.
Yeah, I think just
So,
find whatever
yeah.
works best for you that you can stick
Whatever
to, that you
works
won't
best.
give up in 3 to 6 months, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mas Rizal, one thing that I'm really interested in, if the amount of calories that we consume are less than what we need to burn, do we still have to perform exercise? And if so, what exercise would be best suited for those in the calorie deficit program?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So, actually, the easiest way to be in a calorie deficit is by reducing our food intake, right? It's much easier to not eat something rather than allocating time to go to the gym or do a treadmill for 1 hour, right? So, there are so many studies also showed that diet alone, which is in a calorie deficit, without exercise, can help lose
Wait.
controlling food intake fails to achieve weight loss. But the most interesting part of the study is that diet plus exercise, which is combination of cardiovascular and strength training, is the most effective way to lose weight. So it means that although we can achieve weight loss without doing any exercise, but for the sake of effectiveness and also if we want to be healthy as a whole, we still need exercise in our daily life, especially a combination of cardiovascular and strength training.
Cardiovascular
I
and
look at it-
strength training.
I look at that way, like, okay, yeah, you can restrict your calories, but if it helps you hit your target a little more by just performing daily exercise, why not? Like, you're spending
Yeah.
that day anyway trying to lose weight.
That's true, but I always train myself because I want to eat more.
So you exercise so you can
I
eat.
exercise, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you say about that, Mas Rizal? There are a lot of my friends. Shandas isn't the only one. Some of my friends actually told me, like, I'm actually exercising because I have to, because I want to enjoy my life, because I
Yeah.
want to eat.
I wanna eat.
Is that a incorrect way to approach things, or is that actually fine in order to motivate yourself? I'm curious.
Okay, in some way it's fine, but in the other ways, there are some studies that say people usually always, not always, but usually over-reported what they do in exercise. So, for example, they say they have burned maybe 1,000 calories for one exercise, but the actual burning is only maybe 500.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, okay, I've burned 1,000 calories, so I can eat
A burger.
whole pizza maybe,
Right.
and a burger also. And on the other hand, when people over-reported what they are exercising, people also tend to under-reported what they eat. So, for example, they think that they eat only one donut which contain of 200 calories only, but the reality is that the donut contains of maybe 500 calories.
And they forget
So in
about
some ways
the
it's
coffee
good.
that they have
Yeah.
beside it with the milk and the sugar. We
That's
don't count
right.
all those things, right? We like to.
You guys see right through me.
We have selective memories. We have selective counting memories when it comes to calories. We tend to just leave out a few things. That we, the krupuk with our fried rice. We
Oh,
just
I
tend
love krupuk. But Mas Rizal, if you want to try, do you have any sort of tips and tricks for us beginners to actually do this calorie deficit diet?
Okay, so there are two simple tips that I think it's useful for us, for the beginner especially. First is don't be too restrictive. So some people want to lose weight very quickly, right? Therefore, they do a really strict diet with an extremely very low calorie intake. This can negatively impact our health because we need a certain amount of calories, which is around 1,200, to keep our body healthy and to function properly. So it's not a good idea to do a very extremely low diet. And secondly, as I said before, choose a diet that you feel most comfortable to do. So once again, there's no one size fit all approach in terms of diet. So some people can do vegan and they can sustain and they can consistent to do vegan diet, but the others not, because the key is consistency and sustainability.
Mas Rizal, is it true then, is when people lose, I've heard this as well, that is it, when people lose weight too fast or they go on crash diets, like let's say they're having extreme calorie deficits, you lose weight over a quick, short period of time, but you can gain that weight back faster as opposed to if you're doing it consistently over a longer period. Is that true?
Most likely yes, because you know that losing weight is not only about the weight itself, but
Right.
it's also about changing food habit. I mean, dietary pattern habit. So if they do it very quickly, maybe their dietary pattern or food habit is not changed yet. So when they feel that they have lost their weight, for example, like 30 kilograms, oh yes, I'm successful in losing weight, and they going back to their previous dietary pattern, right?
Right.
So the more sustained, the more longer they do certain diet, they will have their new habit and they can sustain it for a longer time.
Okay, so what do you suggest as a realistic guideline as to how many kilos you can lose over how long of a period?
Okay, so basically the healthy standard weight loss is 2 until 4 kilograms per month.
Per month.
So it means that a half and until 1 kilo a week.
Okay.
Or if you don't want to be a certain number, maybe you can use a percentage. So it's like a half and 1% per week, or 2% until 4% per month.
Okay.
I want to ask one last question before I let you go. I have so many questions to ask. But this one is, it's related to people who are not beginners, but they have done it for, let's say, 6 months or perhaps even longer.
Yeah.
But there is such a thing as a plateau. And for those that don't understand what a plateau is, when you lose weight, you'll lose weight more, or if you're building muscle, either way, you'll see a lot of progress at the beginning, but then you'll hit a point where it just kind of levels off. You stop losing weight. You can't lose weight forever. So what happens to those that hit that plateau or hit that wall, they say, and how do people stop from, or I guess keep their motivation up and not give up what they're doing? What do you usually suggest to your clients?
Okay, so there are so many causes that cause that thing happen, plateau. For example, the less your weight, so the less also the calorie needs in your life. So you need to recount your calories is the first thing. And the second is that because your body is in adaptation mode, so maybe it's better to do some break diet, for example, like 2 until 4 weeks, or maybe doing a reverse diet, which is more advanced. So, I mean, we cannot walk in a longer period of time, right? We need to rest in a certain amount of time to regenerate our body, and then also to
kind of like reset,
improve our hormone.
Holidays.
Yeah, like give yourself a reset, give yourself a quick break from everything. That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, we need a break.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank
Mas
you,
Rizal. That was
Mas.
very insightful and very good answers to our very many questions. Really do appreciate your time. Take good care, Mas Rizal.
Thank you,
Stay
Mas
healthy
Rizal.
out there. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
That was Mas Rizal from the Indonesian Sport Nutritionist Association. Plenty of insights for you to take. And now we know a lot more about how to perform a calorie deficit. Will you be doing it?
After the New Year.
No. Not right now.
Not for another 2 weeks.
Yes. No, I would not suggest it during the